What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on Avengers EndGame. So seeing as we had the first Avengers EndGame, aka Avengers 4 trailer, we can now go over some plot leaks and see was any of it actually true. And to be honest, some of it was, which was kind of interesting, really true. So firstly, let's go over some Avengers 4 news. So in a recent interview, the Russo brothers stated that they will remain mum regarding the details of Avengers EndGame, just like they did with the title of the movie. Joe added, "We've sat on the title, we've sat on the trailer, the last thing we want to do is give any clues to the story, structure or tone." But can we really trust the Russo brothers anymore, because they're like, yeah, the title has never been said, no one's ever guessed it, it's not even in Avengers Infinity War, then literally every person under the sun. Although people were out there trying to say the title's Annihilation, the title's Annihilation, it was never Annihilation ever, it was always going to be EndGame. Even one of the cinematography guys put EndGame on their website, but then they were told by Marvel to take it down, so it was always EndGame. So you got to be very careful of what the Russo bros actually say, and they basically confirmed something like I said a long time ago, that Avengers 4 EndGame will be at least 3 hours long, and I was bashed by some other small medium websites for being wrong, but now the Russo bros have said it's going to be 3 hours. Everyone can confirm the same story that I told people months ago. So let's get into the supposed plot leak. The movie starts with Tony Stark and Nebula arriving on a destroyed Wakanda. They find all the Avengers devastated by the death of half of the universe population. There is tension between Tony and Steve, who soon leaves the place. Black Widow follows him. So based on the first trailer, we don't really see any of this. They're stuck on a Benatar with what looks like Nebula and Tony Stark being together. But one thing you gotta remember is trailers are so misleading when you've got the Russo brothers putting the Hulk into a Wakanda scene and then it never actually makes the final cut. So just because these parts are in the trailer doesn't actually mean they're part of the movie. They could have just been done during reshoots. So it's interesting. So the next part of this supposed leak, we can't really comment because we didn't see any of Doctor Strange in the actual trailer, but they're not just going to say it's as a throwaway line in it when Doctor Strange said, "I went forward in time to view alternate futures to see all the possibility outcomes of the coming conflict." How many did you see? 14,605. How many did we win? 1. So I don't think they were going to realistically say this if we aren't going to see what the plot leak says next. We then see Doctor Strange's 40 million visions showing how to beat Thanos based on other dimensions and different times. This includes scenes showing a dead Thor, Captain America wielding the original hammer, Tony Stark with the tech gauntlet, and a grey Hulk among other flashes. The whole scene is cut to show Doctor Strange's face waking up in a place that looks just like the one where Thanos did to infant Gamora after he snapped his fingers. Thanos looks around and sees thousands of capsules floating around this place. It is shown that those capsules retain all the beings that were killed by the snaps after that. Thanos comes back to Kid Gamora again, and we know that place is the Soul Stone. So based on all that, I'm pretty sure some of that would be true, because he wouldn't say 14 million possibilities for them not to really show us any of these possibilities at all. So it went on to say, and the next bit is probably the most prominent because we probably get this the most in the actual trailer. It's to do with the Captain America and Hawkeye. Obviously the fans absolutely rioted about Hawkeye not being in the trailer, not being in the movie, but post Civil War, it did make sense why he was under house arrest, just like Scott Lang. So this does make sense. But it's interesting that this does correspond with the first trailer massively. But like I said, it doesn't really matter what's in this first trailer because most of it probably won't even make the movie. So Captain America and his team are now searching for Hawkeye, who goes by the name of Ronin and wears a mask. Now being an outlaw, he is tracking a person believed to be a Skrull. Steve Companion intends to gather all Cap team's heroes that were together in Civil War. Since Tony and Steve are still acting like they're not friends, they try to find Ronin. Captain America then asks Scott Lang how they can find him. What we do see in the trailer is Black Widow and Captain America talking about a plan. Everyone thinks this is about Tony Stark, but it makes more sense for this scene to be about Hawkeye, because we see Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff, actually interacting with Hawkeye in the trailer, or is she? Now, we knew this from ages ago because there was a casting call thanks to Amiga Underground, who unearthed a casting call from a Japanese gangster at a cafe patron back in August. Atlantic Film later confirmed the Tokyo shoot, while the casting call was some very interesting details. So Japanese gangsters, male 20 to 49, slender build. This would be a night shoot and would involve rain and facial prosthetics. Japanese cafe, which is literally the trailer that we had. So prosthetics really does indicate that it's a Skrull. So Japanese gangsters means accused, so definitely involved, but prosthetics could involve a certain shapeshifting alien race. We already know the Skrulls will be the bad people, or some of the bad people in the Captain Marvel movie, but could they appear in Avengers 4 as well? Well, this casting call does literally show us what was in the first trailer. So does this confirm that Hawkeye is a Skrull? No, but it might not even be Hawkeye. This is a Hawkeye that's absolutely destroyed, nothing like the original Hawkeye. But it doesn't tell us a lot. Will there be a time jump from the finger snap, the decimation, as the Avengers 4 Preludes comic book? I mean, we go from Hawkeye being with his family. Did his family get dusted? Probably not, but they're probably going to spin a story that his family did get dusted. When did he become Ronin? How long has he worked with S.H.I.E.L.D., or how long has Hawkeye known about the Skrull? Because as far as we know, Nick Fury would know about the Skrull, Agent Coulson would know about the Skrull, but no one else. This could also be a secret way to have secret wars, but most likely a secret invasion. I was sent this interesting article stroke theory from Reddit. I mean, I'm going to go over it. I think it's quite interesting. But as we've known for years, absolutely every person is a Skrull. Hulk is a Skrull. Tony Stark is a Skrull. So here goes over this theory. This is a theory on how I think Marvel Studios are going to introduce Secret Invasion movie. Possible spoilers if this is correct, and the route they go down. Definitely a spoiler for Avengers Infinity War ahead, so please stop here. Check out Infinity War, then continue if you are interested, so careful for spoilers. The scene from Captain Marvel trailer where we see Carol Danvers supposedly being tortured or captured is actually the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel, and I believe she is being held captive by the Skrulls. What happened after Fury paged Danvers? Well, we know this isn't true because in the footage shown from Brazil Comic-Con, she actually kicks her ass pretty bad and escapes, but let's just go with this. Just before turning to dust is when we contacted her. She had been captured by the Skrull on guard. Notice her pager lit up. They track the signal to Earth, then they decide to take Danvers' form as Captain Marvel. The one who takes her form stages an escape for the whole Skrull army by inflicting mild self-harm, lightning damaging the pod, and set a course for Earth. Of course, this will be revealed in the Secret Invasion film, as we won't really know she's a Skrull in Avengers 4. I believe we will see an injured Captain Marvel gains the trust of the Avengers. That's where the post-credits scene for Avengers 4 would come in, as we see Captain Marvel in an empty room smile as her face morphs into a Skrull face and says, "Let the invasion begin." So that's my theory on how Marvel Studios could introduce a Secret Invasion movie should they decide this route. So let's carry on, guys. I don't think this is true because the scene they're referring to in this theory is a scene where Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, completely breaks free. But I think it is interesting, and I think the Hawkeye section of this trailer is very misleading and also very interesting, because if you read on with the supposed plot leak, it says Captain America has a long beard, long hair, and is absolutely torn and distressed at this stage. He blames himself for all the loss he had after the finger snap. Thanos snap. So we know this is true, but we also know that he's clean shaven now. But the reason I'm bringing it back up again is because, like I said before, in this segment it comes up against with a Skrull. There's a scene where Captain Team fights a Skrull. There's a scene, it's really intense, with a fight and a brawl, and Captain Team is almost defeated when a suddenly shining glowing light appears in the sky and defeats all the Skrulls in a matter of seconds, and that is Captain Marvel. So yet again, the Skrull is involved in this plot leak, and obviously the casting call made it clear that the Skrull will be in this movie. So it is pretty interesting, this bit here, and I think this would be a really cool way for Captain Marvel to be introduced, although I don't think they're going to turn the new Golden Girl of the MCU into a Skrull. So do you think Hawkeye could actually be a Skrull and this isn't the real Hawkeye that we see? There's a lot of Skrull footage in this actual supposed plot leak. So then it goes on to say, Captain Marvel sent by Tony to find Captain's team invites him to join the fight with Thanos once again in a temporary truce provided by Tony. Captain Marvel looks at Steve Rogers in a state and questions him about Captain America's honor, doubting that he could really be the legend she once heard of during her childhood. In an emotional military dialogue with Captain Marvel, Steve is once again motivated and once again wants to fight again. Now this bit does kind of correspond to the way we see Steve Rogers in the first trailer. He looks absolutely destroyed. We even see him cry. Now the next bit we can't really verify because we don't know anything about this. They move to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s headquarters where they find Tony after a virtual reality video is shown to introduce the whole team to Captain Marvel. Passing through the Battle of New York all the way to the Thanos snap, Tony gives Captain America a traditional suit back to Steve along with his shield. Okay, we gets that in the first trailer. He's got his Winter Soldier suit back. I presume it's referring to that, so maybe. Steve cuts his hair and shaves, taking back the appearance of Captain America in the first Avenger. But Tony says this is all temporary. After this is taken care of, there will be some wrecking. So a lot of this plot leak, the reason I'm going over it once again is because now we've got the first trailer, a lot of it does correspond to this. I know the Russo brothers are trying to be coy about everything, so you've got to question everything they say to a T. So let's go on. I do think a lot of this does make factual sense. After all that, 3 teams are gathered. Tony Stark, Thor, team. Captain America, Doctor Strange, Hank Pym. Hank manages to create a form of tracking the energy trail of the stone, Thanos' whereabouts. Hank Pym and Tony Stark then create a device that can ream the energy of the Infinity Stones, making it possible for a human to hold one without dying. Such a device is given to Thor, Iron Man, Scott Lang, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Bruce Banner after successfully turning into Hulk again, and manages to finally transform but keeping his own mind whilst becoming Professor Hulk. Now we know this is true because they do have devices on their hands, which does look like the cable device that he had in Deadpool 2, so I don't really think this is necessarily impacted by the first trailer. And we do know that Hulk will become Professor Hulk or World War Hulk. As we do know, there will be a fight between him and Thanos in the last movie. And also they're now trying to sell this movie that it's the finale. It's not groundbreaking, it's not a kind of changing in the MCU, it's the finale of this war. They all travel towards the planet where Thanos is, and there they start the final battle. It is a very intense, thrilling fight against Thanos. In a given moment, it looks like the Avengers will lose, but then Captain Marvel appears shining with great power and faces Thanos in an epic battle. She aims on destroying the gauntlet. The Avengers are once more, and they manage to destroy the gauntlet, which explodes all the stones on the floor. The Avengers retain possession of almost every stone, but Thanos falls back and retreats to the Soul Stone, which disappears after that. Hank, who is still on Earth, manages to track the whereabouts of the Soul Stone, and then they come back to Volmir, where Thanos sacrificed Gamora. Arriving there, they start a quest for the stone in teams of 2. Tony and Steve find the place and face Red Skull. Steve is shocked that Red Skull is still alive. Red Skull explains he is now immortal but cannot leave Volmir, and it's interesting that the actor actually came out and said that's pure CGI, so Red Skull isn't actually there. Now he is the Soul Keeper. He instructs in order to get the Soul Stone, they have to sacrifice something that is dear. He then suggests Tony. Admiration for Steve and vice versa is marvelous. Tony looks at Steve and Steve looks in Tony. In a brief moment of silence, Steve gives Tony his shield and says, "Goodbye, my dear friend," in an emotional state. Sad scene, Steve throws himself off the cliff, sacrificing himself in order to give Tony the Soul Stone. I honestly think this scene's actually going to play out that, and my artist, Ultra Raw, did an artwork for this. I do believe this scene's going to play out like this, or obviously Iron Man will die instead, one or the other. After that, Captain Marvel sees the Soul Stone energy and follows it to investigate what is happening. There, she finds a heartbroken Tony Stark with the Soul Stone in his hand. She is sorry, but reminds Tony that it is his duty to accomplish. She gets 2 stones at the same time. Thor wields one without Pym's device. Scott Lang and Tony Stark with a device with a stone for each one. They undo what Thanos did. All the heroes inside the Soul Stone come back to life. The movie ends with Doctor Strange caging Thanos in a ultimate dimension in the quantum realm surrounded by a spell. After that, there is a scene where all the MCU characters gather. In Captain America's funeral, there are thousands of people in the funeral. In a sad scene, Tony Stark says that the heroes will never give up, even if it means sacrificing their own lives. So, is a lot of this plot leak fake? Probably, most likely, but a lot of it does correspond to parts of the first trailer. There's no point going over the post-credit scenes because I don't really think they're real. One says the X-Men, and then the other one says that Nova's coming, so I don't really, and also says Adam Warlock, so I don't really believe him. But guys, let me know, do you think this confirms that there is a Skrull inside the MCU already? I really think Hawkeye's bit of the trailer needs to be investigated closely, because he really could be a Skrull, possibly, because his characteristics are nothing like the original one we know. So if you made it this far the video, you know how to do it. Just hashtag Team Warstu, I made it to the end of EndGame without ending, or something like that. So guys, if you do want to enter the 50,000 subscriber giveaway, remember we're giving it away on New Year's Eve. I will announce the winner on my New Year's Eve video. So all you got to do is comment down below you made it to the end of the video, and also follow me on Twitter at Warstu, and then let me know you followed me on my Twitter, and I will catch you in another video. But first, if you do want to hit me up or send me any business inquiries or anything like that, warstubusiness@gmail.com, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.